I'm Benji. We done discussed that, and so Donna set all this up, and when she set it up, she didn't realize. I'm introducing the speaker tonight too. Donna didn't know, but Charlie was my original sponsor, so this is a big deal, really big deal for me. And so he asked me to introduce him, and start how I met Charlie. I was coming out of a program in town. I absolutely, without a doubt, knew I was going to drink again. I had started going to the train station meeting down in Hollister. He was going there. I'd never seen him before. I'd been to that meeting before. And I was getting ready to move out of this program, and I had never truly had a sponsor in my life, and I'd been around this fellowship for probably 20 years at this time, and obviously before this time I'd never really strung any sobriety together. So if you can do math, that was zero without a sponsor for me. And so I finally, after some coercion from another friend of mine that was also in Alcoholics Anonymous, got put on the spot, and because I told him that I was going to ask Charlie to be my sponsor. And so I remember walking we were in the courthouse where they have the court at, because we had moved down for the Santa Claus thing, and I asked Charlie to sponsor me, and he said, call me tomorrow. And so I called him tomorrow, the next day, and that began my sobriety and a relationship with this man. And I always say, thank God, I say this in meetings, that there were some guys in Alcoholics Anonymous still doing Alcoholics Anonymous when I got here. Thank God there were some guys still doing Alcoholics Anonymous. And Charlie just so happened to be one of those guys. Charlie never told me to go to 90 meetings in 90 days. I had done that since I was 19 years old. It did not work for me. Charlie never told me to go read the doctor's opinion, and when you get done reading the doctor's opinion, call me and we'll talk about it. Charlie didn't do that. Charlie had been sponsored through the Big Book of Alcoholics Anonymous, and that's what he did for me. I met with this man either in that room or on his couch on a weekly basis for almost 3 years. Until our schedules changed and he wasn't my sponsor anymore. And that's how Charlie sponsored. And Charlie believed in, after we got through the steps, he didn't believe that sponsorship, me sponsoring somebody else, was a suggestion. That's what we talked about and worked on from that point. Benji, who are you working with? It wasn't about Benji anymore. Charlie taught me a long time ago that this program was not about me. It was about you. That's one thing I got from this man. This program is about you. We met at his house. He didn't fix my problems. He always sent me right back to the Big Book, and from there it went to a God of my understanding. Always, every single time. I never once got it off that it was her fault or his fault. It was always my fault. And I'll tell you, I have a lot of respect for this man. He does have a lot of sobriety, and I can say without a doubt he is truly one of my heroes in this program, if we have any. And I'll give you Charlie.
What an introduction. Gee whiz. I'll never be able to live up to all that. But here we go. So I'll just give you my story, okay? My name's Charlie, and I am an alcoholic. I got sober November the 27th in 1990. Finally. I tried for a year and a half, right? I tried for a year and a half, in and out of this thing, just taking half measures, if you know what I'm saying, right? I was all over the place. At first I wasn't doing nothing, but I drank. And so I decided that maybe I would use a sponsor, So, but I didn't want just one sponsor, okay? I got 5, all right? Because I figured that was the way to go, right? I mean, 5 sponsors, that way I can just call them, whoever I think has the specialized version for, in other words, I used whatever was best for me, right? Whatever I thought, if the sponsor finally said something about it, then I would go with that. And that didn't work too good either. So I decided I'd get a home group, right? One home group wasn't enough, right? I got 5 or 6 or whatever. Whatever meeting I went to, I was a member of that home group, by golly, and I was trying to be something that I wasn't, and that's a theme for me my whole life, trying to be something that I wasn't. Anyway, all right, so I'll get started. What it was like. I was back in my early days. Whenever I was 10 years old, I had a stroke. Affected the right side of my body. A tether ball hit me in the head and just about knocked me silly. The doctor said it would have killed me if I was any older, so I was fortunate, but I didn't feel that way, And by 13, I decided, I was out of it for a while, but by 13, I had enough faculty about me that I was gonna, check this out, folks, okay? I was gonna get saved and baptized. I was gonna ask God to take this stroke away from me, and if he would do that, then I would fill up church auditoriums praising his name and telling them about the many miracles that he had done, and I could just see myself on the stage all there, Only problem was I done all the things that I said I was going to do. I prayed, I got saved and baptized. I went to bed that night with every bit of faith that I could muster at 13 years old, right? I woke up that next morning and nothing changed. And I was devastated because I just knew. I knew that God was gonna heal me, that I was gonna be able to, spring up out of that bed that next morning, and guess what? That didn't happen. And so from that moment on, okay, I knew that God existed, all right? I mean, I had every bit, I understood that God existed, but he wouldn't help me. He forgot about me. I figured I had done something so bad by the time I was 10 years old that he X'd me out of his book, And so I went down the only road that I knew how, Friends around me were asking me if I would, do stuff, and I'd done stuff, and it was all fun and games for a long time. Besides, like whenever I get run over by the occasional car, because I was trying, no, I don't talk, you don't talk about drugs. I won't do that. So, but anyway, I was trying to run as fast as I could next to a car, right? And I was booking. I was running and I grabbed a hold of the dash, not the dash, but where the windows roll up, right? Okay. Guy in the back seat, he grabbed a hold of my arm thinking it was a branch. And the guy in the front seat, the guy that was driving, he didn't know. He had no idea because he had his stereo up, red Barracuda, and that car just right over me, right over tire marks all the way up my back and down the other side. So, besides that kind of thing, okay, I had a great time for a while, until it stopped working. Because see, by all along that time, all along that journey that I was taking, I was getting like I was trying to, fit in or trying to be whoever you wanted me to be, so you would give me what you had. Because you see, the great chameleon, right? I was the great chameleon. I was the guy that, you know, I could be a poor guy because I had a stroke whenever I was a kid, or I could be the smart guy because, you know, by golly, I, you know, could dress up a little bit, right? Anybody that I wanted, anybody that I thought you wanted me to be, I would be. So you would accept me. So you would give me what you want, what you guys had, because you see, I mean, like, I couldn't work, right? I mean, like, I was 16, 17 years old, but I couldn't work. I had a stroke, right? I mean, I was just the poor guy, you know. I couldn't, you know, make any money at all. So anyway, that all continued to roll downhill until finally, you know, I guess just a second, I'm trying not to miss something here. Until that, I'll just go at 27 years old, okay? At 27 years old, I tried, you know, my wife, my ex-wife, excuse me, okay? Yeah, I don't want to get all that messed up, all right? My ex-wife, all right, she was gonna leave me, right? And I at my house, I was, you know, didn't have a pot to piss in hardly. I mean, I had a trailer, but it was all broken down and everything. And my ex-wife was going to leave me. So now this wasn't 27, this was before that. And so I decided I would check out AA. I would go into a treatment center. And I went into this treatment center, and by golly, you know, I thought I had found home, you know, because everybody was so attentive to me there. Everybody was so, like, you know, very, very uplifting and things like that. And I was there, okay. And I stayed sober out of that treatment center for 7 months. And that's where, you know, I was doing everything to try to you know, make you guys like me, to make the people. I went to a meeting there in the treatment center. It was an AA-NA meeting, you know, but it was a meeting, and I remember some wonderful things happened there. I went to another meeting, an outside meeting, and I made this lady feel so bad about, you know, me, because I was getting sick and all that stuff. I wasn't sick, but I wanted to go home, right? Or I wanted to go back to the hospital. And so I made her feel so bad, and she said, I never got fooled by this stuff, okay, but you fooled me. She said she finally took me home. So anyway, all right, let's turn the corner, I hope, a little bit here. Like I said before, okay, trying to weave my way in and out of this thing, and I'm sure that a lot of us have, okay? A lot of us have tried to, you know, not follow the program of Alcoholics Anonymous. You know, we've tried to follow our program with a little bit of Alcoholics Anonymous thrown in. And it's okay, that's okay. If anybody is there right now, that's okay. Just keep doing what you're doing. Because believe me, whenever I'm saying okay, it produced me. It produced the guy that finally had enough. And that was only after I had enough pain. Pain was the motivator behind my wanting something different. And whenever after I finally, my scorecards read 0, after all was lost, I was living in that same trailer. My ex-wife had left me. It was broken down to the point where, you know, I didn't have any electricity or gas, because who had time for bills, or who had money for bills, right? So I was, you know, the water was shut off. I had a trailer though, by golly, but you know, that kind of thing, right? But everything was just completely in shambles. I was so cold in there, I got sober. Did I tell you what my sobriety date was? Okay, so it's 11/27/1990.
Yeah.
Yeah, I already said that. But see here, I'm already starting to repeat myself. Okay, but anyway. You know, it was cold outside, right? Very cold. And it was so cold, and I just had a red overstuffed couch in the living room. Everything else was pawned off, or I sold it somehow or another to try to get more money. Got 86'd from a liquor store. You know, you usually get 86'd from a bar, right? I got 86'd from a liquor store. All right, because I went in there and just, you know, tried to weasel it out too many times. I got the whole world was closing down. Okay. So whenever I know I'm jumping around a little bit. I'm sure that you've never heard that from another speaker up here, right? You know, I mean, like, so you'll just have to forgive me a little bit because here I go swimming through the water, right? So whenever I got sober, okay, and I chose one sponsor. I chose one sponsor that I could work with. I chose one home group that I could go to. You know, all the rest of the groups that I went to, because my sponsor told me to get one home group. My sponsor told me that whenever I was in a meeting of Alcoholics Anonymous to not jump up and jump down and jump up and jump down a bunch of times and take the focus off the person that was speaking, because that person that was speaking and the message that he was given to everybody that was in the room was being hindered by me. And so I realized, I learned long ago, unless I got to go really, really bad, okay? And I've had to go really bad. Okay, no, I'm not going to talk about that either. But anyway, you know, it's like, yeah, I know. So I don't get up and move around a whole lot. My sponsor told me to bring the big book with me to every meeting that I went to, and I still do. And he said to whenever somebody reads something out of that thing to follow along, because somebody, one of the guys or gals in the audience may not know that it's in the big book. They may think we're just reading something out off the wall somewhere, and they don't have a clue. And so he said to pick this big book up and read along with them so they would know that it was in the big book. He said not to double dip unless everybody in the room had talked. He said that the message of Alcoholics Anonymous, the overall, it's like whenever you go into a meeting, and I'm sure that people that have been to meetings before, a bunch of them understand this, okay? Whenever you go into a meeting and you sit down in that chair and you listen intently to what the people are saying, and it's not just that one person that's talking, it's not their message. It's the whole group, and the feeling that you get whenever you stand up and say that Lord's Prayer. It is amazing, and you all know what I'm talking about. My sponsor told me to get a lot of phone numbers, and guess what? I still get a lot of phone numbers. I got a lot of people's phone numbers in here, and guess what? I talk to them every now and then. I contact them by text. Because that's what my sponsor said to do 30-something years ago, and I still do it because it worked then. It's good. Why wouldn't it work now? So, all right. Whenever we started working through the steps, whenever we started this journey, you know, and I found out that that he told, another thing he told me that, you know, there was somebody in Alcoholics Anonymous at some point in some time that had thought what I was thinking, that had done what I done. Uh-oh. Excuse me. That's the first one. That had done what I done, that had been where I've been, he said, and they got through it sober, and so could I. That first step, whenever we first started through that journey, and I realized that, you know, I could recover. It talks about it in the book. We have recovered from a seemingly hopeless state of mind and body. To show other alcoholics precisely how we have recovered is the main purpose of this book. Let me tell you something. I have recovered today, but I don't think for a minute that my recovery's in the bag. You know, I don't think for a minute that, well, I've got this now, by golly, so I can go out and save everybody else. I know what happened, what I done to get sober, and if somebody wants what I have, then they can do what I done and they'll get what I got. If you want what you got already, if you're happy with where you're at, you keep doing what you're doing and you'll keep getting what you're getting there too. It's all up to you. The deal's up to you. You know, I don't try to, rush rush, but I don't try to, well, you got to do this and you got to do that, and by golly, if you don't do this, and you're going to get drunk again, and if you don't do that, then I don't do that stuff. Because, see, my sponsor didn't do it to me. You know, my sponsor, a lot of people told me I had to get a sponsor and this and that, but I do it at my own pace. I do it at the level, I don't know, at the level of pain. I don't know if that makes any sense or not. The pain that I have, if the pain is great enough, change can occur. If the pain is great enough, change will occur. And some people, that pain, that it don't happen. I mean, they die before they can get in here and get help, you know. And what I want to do, and what everybody that around me, okay, the people that I've sponsored in the past, the people that they've sponsored, okay, we just want to help you, you know. We don't want no BS, okay, about, you know, how, you know, we're going to, you know, cause a great, you know, fire or anything in Alcoholics Anonymous. I just want to help, you know. And the only way that I can do that is showing what my sponsor done for me, telling people how I done it, you know, not telling you got to do this and you got to do that. Okay, now then, the first step, okay, the very first step, whenever I admitted and accepted my devastating weakness and all of its consequences, whenever I had to realize that the problem was in me, it wasn't in y'all, it wasn't in everybody else, you know, and had this understanding, okay, that without that acceptance of that devastating weakness and all its consequences, I couldn't go forward. You know, I couldn't progress anymore. If I would have stayed in the first step for any longer than I did, I may have got drunk. But see, that's the good thing about all this, okay? There's a second step after that. The steps are designed, at least I feel they're designed. Once you work the first step, then the second step it follows right after. And once you work that second step, the third step follows right after. You know, I heard somebody say one time, and for anybody that has this philosophy, I'm not trying to step on your toes. It just didn't work for me. I can't. He can. So why not let him? I had to get deeper into this thing because and then I dove into the 4-step and I got all screwed up because I dove into the 4-step, got drunk again and other stuff, you know. This has to be something that I got to realize deep within my heart, deep within my soul, that this thing is going to kill me if I continue to try to do this, to drink and do other things like y'all other people did. And then the 2nd step. Well, I had a hard time with the 2nd step because of my previous engagement with God. I had a really hard time. I'm telling you, that was probably the toughest that people say the 4th and the 5th, their toughest step or whatever, but mine was the 2nd step because I could not understand why God would do that to me. Why this God would cause me to continue to live in this body that I have, that my right side doesn't work. And I had the biggest resentment towards God that I've ever had. But whenever we started working through that 2nd step, my sponsor pointed out, okay, that you don't have to believe in the same God that you believed in whenever of your childhood. You can believe in a God, good orderly direction if you want to. You can, and at first I had I just thought maybe you were chasing something. Sorry. Okay. So what I'm trying to do here, okay? Whoa!
It was real.
Good job there, Donna. Okay. So what my sponsor was trying to do was to get me to realize that I could believe in something different. And I had to call him many, many times, with this old God that I had and just so mixed up and so perplexed about this whole situation. And so but I started nature was my first higher power, because nature does something for me that nobody else could. And then it turned into, very soon thereafterward, a group of drunks. G-O-D, group of drunks, because I knew that you could do something for me as a whole that I couldn't do. I kept thinking about Red Rover, said, anybody know that game, huh? Red Rover, no, nobody knows it. Oh, all right, so now I'm getting some head shakes. Yeah, all right. So I kept thinking about that game, and I figured I couldn't bust through any of you, and all those things. And my conception just turned a little bit. My sponsor said at one point, if you can't believe in a God, you can believe in mine. You can believe. You can believe that I believe, and all those different, like a cushion for me. Instead of falling on that hard, oh God, you don't care about me. Oh God, how I cussed him. I mean, I done everything I could in my younger days to put him down, to let everybody know, well, you might believe in God, but I don't, and here's why. And by the time I was finished, I thought that I convinced you good enough, because that was just ludicrous what he, anyway. All right. Started to get off track again, didn't I? My conception, group of drunks, became, where I could, and this took a while, probably, I don't know, 2 or 3 months for my conception to turn and to change into, okay, I can believe in in God, I can say thank you. He told me to say thank you in the morning, and please help me at night. No, please, I'm sorry. Whoa, I went off, didn't I? All right, so he taught me to say, please help me in the morning and thank you at night, all right? And so that's what I started doing, because that's what my sponsor said to do. And my conception has continued to grow. I've continued to change over 32 years into a more and more. Well, sometimes we've had arguments, you know. I mean, like sometimes, you know, me and him don't get along still, you know. Things aren't going my way. And all of a sudden I get back into that dump, you know, where I'm just all kinds of, man, nobody cares. Man, nobody understands, you know. I'm not talking to anybody that's been there, am I? Huh? No. You know. So, anyway, all right. The third step, where I started, because I had the conception going. The third step, where I started to understand that, you know, that I was selfish, that I was self-centered, that just because these other people in my life had done things to really, really hurt me, okay, that I didn't need to look at that, but I needed to look at me and look at what I had. No, that's the fourth step. I'm getting confused. Help me. All right. But that's the point where I definitely started to realize that I was the problem. That, you know, that third step prayer in the middle of the book, in the middle. There we go again, huh? That third step prayer there in the book, okay? God, I offer myself to thee to build with me and to do with me as thou wilt. Relieve me of the bondage of self so I may better do thy will. Take away my difficulties so victory over them may bear witness to those I could help of thy power, thy love, and thy way of life. May I do thy will always. That prayer is probably my favorite, my most cherished prayer in the book, because I understood that I needed to do what he would have me do, not what Charlie wanted to do. I understood that even though my conception was limited, okay, and it was very limited, I needed to know, I understood that because of working through these steps and working through the program as far as I had, that now I needed to take action, you know, and the action that I took was severe. Was, you know, I mean, there were times whenever I went all into that. Okay, I'm gonna pause talking about the steps right now, and I'm gonna tell you all. I never did tell you what happened, did I? Yeah, I did. See, I don't like blaming anything on my stroke, but there are difficulties up here, okay? So, therefore, you got what you got here tonight, huh? So, for the new people, I know there's some new people here, and you're really who meeting, okay, not that you're who meetings are all about, but you're the most important people here. You know, the people that haven't quite worked through the steps yet, that are still on the edge maybe of deciding whether they want to, you know, stay in or leave or whatever. The people that have got say great things on the outside, but on the inside they're fighting themselves because they know if you really knew me how I know me, that you wouldn't like me either. Because see, that's how I used to feel. That's how all of us used to feel. It's how I still feel sometimes whenever I get down and out, you know. So what I got to say to you is there's hope. If you're willing to go to any lengths to get this thing, I'll guarantee you, guaranteed that this works. You know, if you're still on the fence, on the bubble or what have you, okay, and you just, you know, wanting to, you know, kind of play around, that's cool too. But I just want you to know that I'm here and that the people that make up the older members, okay, I'll use it. The people that make up the older sect of Alcoholics Anonymous, they're here too. That whenever I could finally get rid of trying to, you know, do the, I was Superman for a while in the program, right? I mean, like I was everybody's answer, okay? I was sponsoring, you know, I don't know, 10 people or something like that, and I was doing this and I was doing that, and I was just, and inside I was dying because I didn't have enough time to work on me. So, okay. You got my phone. Well, I had a cheat sheet on there in case I run out of stuff to say. What do you think, huh?
Now we
Jeez. Yeah. Oh, here's one, okay. Whenever I was sober for a bit, you know, I started thinking that I was too sober to talk to my sponsor about some minuscule problem that I was having. Because if he knew that I was really having that kind of problem, then he would laugh at me and he would just kind of throw me out of his way, and I would feel that same feeling that I had all the years that I was growing up. And I got to tell you something, okay? If you want to keep a hold of those things that are going on inside of you that you think are just kind of, you know, silly or whatever, but it keeps eating your lunch, but it keeps getting to you. You can, but it's so much better, so much easier whenever you just let it fly, you know. Because I can remember one time, this was early on, I had a pimple right there on the end of my nose. And I was supposed to speak at a meeting, okay? I had a home group, my home group, it was a speaker discussion meeting, and it was a candlelight meeting, and whenever every now and then we'd have the home group members talk, right? So I was supposed to talk this night, okay? And I had this pimple, and I called my sponsor. I was going to just lay out of the meeting and say I was sick. But I finally, right before the meeting, I finally called my sponsor. I said, Jim, and I told him about my big zit on the end of my nose, right? And guess what? He didn't laugh me out of the place. He listened to me, and he told me things like, you've got a responsibility to go share your message in front of the group, he said. He told me things like, you know what? Other people have had pimples on the end of their noses. He talked to me like I was a real human being instead of talking to me like I was some kind of freak that didn't, have any. Because guess what? That's what we do, Remember whenever I said that everybody has, sometime in the past, everybody, somebody else has done or thought or been where I've been or what have you. That's true in all areas. You can breathe in this thing. You don't have to continue to tuck your tail between your legs and pretend like you're somebody that you're not. Because guess what? You're not. You're who you are. And it's okay to be you. It's not about, you know, trying to be somebody. Again, I'm going over and over the same things. Oh, my sponsor. Okay. My sponsor talked about the lowest bottom. He said, so have you hit your bottom yet? Whenever I first came in, he said, have you hit your bottom yet? I said, well, Jim, I said, I think I've went as low as I can go. And he said, oh no. He said, your lowest bottom. He said, okay, so he said, it's like the drink is out here and you're pulling the lever to a trap door and you're going further and further down every time that you drink. And your lowest bottom, my friend, is 6 feet under. Because that's where it is. I've had sponsees, I've had 2 of them die on me. Violent. Well, one of them OD'd and one of them died in his car while he was trying to get out of his house. He wrecked into the ditch and he was screaming for help and he busted a blood vessel here and he couldn't get out because he was in the ditch at an angle and he died out there in his ditch right there by his house. You know, I know how. I walked into my sponsees, the other guy that I OD'd. I was going to pick him up for a meeting. He had 2 years sober. Yeah, I'd give him his coin a couple nights before. Everything was going great. He was like up there, just chiming, just doing the deal, or so I thought. I walked into his house to take him to a meeting. His wife was outside on the porch, just crying her eyes out, uncontrollably, I walked up to her, I said, well, what's going on? And she said, he's in there, but he's not in there. I said, what are you talking about like that? And she said, he OD'd. He's got a needle hanging out of his arm. That's how fast this thing can get you. I just lost a guy, Mike C., okay, down in Florida, but what's wrong? Mike C. I'm good. All right. Anyway. Yeah. Whoa. All right. My wife, for the record, just shook her head at me, and all right, so Mike C. down in Florida, okay? Oh, okay, gotcha. He had 7 or 8 years sobriety. I called him a couple months ago. Everything was going great. His sponsor had got in touch with his sponsor, and he said everything was going great. He done a mushroom. He ended up going inside. He got paranoid. He locked himself in a room and blew himself away with almost 8 years, maybe 8 years sobriety. It can happen that fast. So I want to let everybody know that you're not alone, that you have a purpose. Even whenever you brand new and come into a meeting and sit your butt down in the chair, you have a purpose for us old farts and young farts, okay? Because we feel like we can give you something if you'll take it. Okay. Benji held up the 5-minute deal a minute ago, so I want to read a poem. if I can find it. There it is. All right. It's called No Name. Another day has come and gone. I leave no name to carry on. The where I have, goodwill to man, my mission clear to join the clan. Without you I could not be, all that's left to think of me. The sea not quenched, swallowed there, sadly drowned without no air. Torrent tossed, a hurricane, my body lost, I have no name. Simple tools, God help me see, to be of use, to be set free. Create no havoc, no foolish pride, lion's roar can cease to lie. A meeting shared, a broken man, to give to him, to join the clan. Another soul, he gave me life, he took the sting out of the knife. To give it back, no name for me, I share my life, tranquility. Thank you.
Thank you, Charlie.